Welcome back. It's time for another video in our how-to series for FM23. And today we're going to talk about how to hold a lead. There's been a lot of conversations I've heard around this game on how difficult that is, and is there anything you can even do to hold a lead? And I think there is. So I'm going to walk you through how to adjust one of your tactics to hold a lead in that last 20, 15 minutes of a game. Make sure that momentum bar doesn't swing to your opponent, and get you a chance to hold on to those 3 points or salvage or hold on to a draw if that's what you're playing against on the road against a bigger team, whatever the situation is. If you want to hold on to the position that you're in, this video is for you. Okay, now before we get to the changes that you need to make, this is an example of a tactic that was the first video that we released on the series. Check out the link upstairs. Maybe it's, what's that side? Yeah, there we go. Check out the link there to see more about this video. It was tested early on in the game's progression on FM23 with Atalanta and had an incredible run. I still recommend this narrow tactic today. I'm playing something very similar to this on my save on Twitch, where I am trying to win the Club World Cup with a team from outside of Europe. And currently, this is the tactic we're using to dominate the MLS with LA Galaxy, as we furiously apply for every single job that comes up in Brazil, trying to get out of that league as soon as possible. But today, we're going to talk about how to take a tactic like this and turn it into one that can hold a lead against just about any opponent. And it's been really effective for us in that save as well. So I am looking forward to kind of describing this as well. But we're going to be looking at the tactic inside this year's tactic tester. There's a link up there as well for the tactic testing video, how to use the tester, where to download it, what it's comprised of as well. So if you want to try your hand testing out a tactic, it's difficult to test your end of game adjustment tactic inside the tester without playing the games yourself. But if you're going to holiday test, it is the best tester on the market to help you holiday test your tactics and make sure everything is great. And if you do like the content and like that tester, make sure you subscribe to the channel and consider supporting us on Patreon. We have a lot of new patrons of the channel now, and I'll make sure to recognize them at the end of the video. And I'm excited to welcome more people into the stickpiano content team. So without further ado, let's talk about this tactic. So this tactic plays on attacking. It uses double advance forward like a shadow striker. It's using a CM attack. It's using these IWBs on support. So it has holes, right? Like, you can get beat out wide with this tactic, and something the AI will do is they will overlap late in the game when they're trailing or when they're the favorite and it's currently a draw and they want to try and win. That is stuff the AI is going to try to do. They will start throwing their defenders forward starting at about the 75th minute. And so that's my advice to you first, is make sure that you start to think about adjustments that you can make in the 75th minute. Now, the biggest mistake I think people make is playing on a defensive or cautious mentality and dropping their line to low. You're just inviting pressure and inviting even more efficiency from the overlaps of your opponent's defenders. And that's just not the right way to defend in FM23. So you want to maintain your shape as much as possible, but change some instructions and roles to where your players take fewer risks, and that will lead to less turnovers. You will be less vulnerable to the all of a sudden high press of your opponent, right? The AI plays a lot of games on mid block or low block, and when they're losing or drawing a game that they shouldn't be, they all of a sudden will turn to high press. And if your defenders aren't ready to, or are being told to play out of the defense or whatever, they will lose the ball and you'll see your opponent score goals. So you need to manage the fact that the AI is going to change, and the way that they change is reasonably predictable. They play their fullbacks on attack and they switch to a high press. So what can we do to combat that is the real question. So I'll walk you through some of the changes that I like to make to a tactic to make it hold a lead. So we're going to use this as the base. Let's turn this tactic, maintaining the shape, maintaining the higher defensive line, to turn this into something that can hold a lead. All right, so here we go. Let's go first to the mentality. I am a big fan of balanced. A lot of tactics that I'm playing right now start on balanced even at the beginning of a game, and then you can go up from there. But I never go down. I don't play on cautious and I don't play on defensive, but staying on that balanced mentality when you're trying to hold a lead is an excellent first step. All right, the next step is, in this tactic, turn off these overlaps. You don't need them. You're trying to hold a lead. The second step is stop passing into space. That's just going to lead to a lot of interceptions. It's going to lead to a lot of balls where the opponent then just wins back possession that they shouldn't be. Also, stop playing out of defense. Okay, this is something you don't want to force, especially because, like what we just talked about, the AI is switching to that high press, and we're going to try to avoid the effectiveness of your high press from the opponent right away by playing out of defense. The second thing here is to reduce the tempo a little bit. I think standard passing is fine. It depends on your tactic. If you play short passing normally, I would go up to standard, but I don't know always that I would go from standard to direct. Maybe if I had like a 2-goal lead, I would, but I don't think you want to just launch it every single time you get the ball. So passing standard is fine. Now, in this tactic too, you do not want to be running at the defense. This just gives the opponent the ability to swarm you and to execute that press in ways that the AI is able to turn on immediately. And you can turn on things like be more disciplined, right? And I like to stop working the ball into the box. Basically, just give your team less options. Don't force them into offensive play patterns that will lead to mistakes by the opponent. All right. Next thing, don't roll it out, okay? You don't have to take long kicks, but you also shouldn't be on purpose delivering that ball straight into their press. You have the option maybe to distribute to your fullbacks. That's possible, depending especially on the kind of tactic your opponent is playing. If they have like double winger or double inside forward, maybe don't distribute to the fullbacks, but if they don't, that's like an option that you can make. But just give your goalie options. Don't lock them into a bad decision by asking them to distribute to the center backs against 2 strikers that have now switched to a high press, right? And I like to turn off counter press. I like to leave counter on. It's important that when you have the opportunity, your team is taking the ball and running with it. So what you've noticed so far is I have turned off a lot of instructions. And I think that's something that's really important. And actually something that I forgot on in possession is too, you can actually click time wasting up, right? In the 75th minute, maybe time wasting sometimes. And about the 82nd minute, go to time wasting frequently. That is something that I feel pretty strongly about. I think it does work, and it should get you over the line. So let's start with that there. And now let's go to the out of possession. I don't touch these. I just don't. You can turn this off if you want. You can turn this off if you want. But like your lines are the lines for a reason. It's like how your defenders are connected to your offense. It's how your offense pushes back their defenders a little bit. If you start dropping your line to like a mid block, what you're doing is you're helping the opponent connect their defender passes to their attacker passes by shrinking the field, right? But if you stay on this high press, you continue to stretch out your opponent and you make it hard for your opponent to connect passes that bypass the midfield, right? You don't want them bypassing the midfield. You want them having to play through the midfield. So you want to make sure that your opponent stays stretched out. You don't just want to like fall back. That helps your opponent compress the field of play. It means every pass is simpler and it gives the defenders a chance to bypass the midfield into offense. So you don't want to do that whenever possible. But that's it. That's the team instruction changes. And I say that's it. It's a lot. But hopefully they just kind of make sense to you. And then I do think you should make some player role changes, right? So here we have a CM attack. CM attacks play pretty similarly to a box-to-box midfielder, you know, just a little bit less aggressive. So I think that's an easy change to make. We've got this like box-to-box midfielder. Maybe in a narrow tactic, we want to make sure someone is helping out a little bit wider if they're overlapping. So, you know, playing a Carolero here also is something that makes sense. Also, you probably want your shadow striker helping in the midfield a little bit. So making them an AM support means they'll still be involved in a counterattack, but defensively they'll sit a little deeper and help, right? But no crazy changes here, right? And then your IWB support, now because they're overlapping, you want them to be a fullback, right? So what I like to do is fullback support, and then I like to use this this instruction right here of hold position. Okay, make sure they don't go forward and make sure they're like kind of holding. And then if you don't want them to run, with the ball because you want them staying home. Turn on dribble less, turn on cross less often, and turn on cross from deep. So this will make sure that this fullback, as little as possible, goes forward without putting them on defend, which almost sits back too much and invites pressure, that problem that we talked about earlier. So let's make the same changes over on this side. So here we want to switch it again, right, to fullback support, hold position, dribble less, cross from deep, cross less often. Okay, so it's all reasonably similar changes, and this is what we want to do with the fullbacks. Now, your center backs too, you just kind of want to play them a little bit simpler. You don't need to go no-nonsense center back. You can just go center back defend with fewer risks and more direct passing. Like you want them. You also could have them trigger the press a little bit less. That's something too that I will do some from time to time. That's like another option. It depends what your base tactic is doing with your center backs. So we want them dribbling less. Oh wait, I'm on ball playing defender. Here we go. Center defender, defend, more direct passing, trigger press balanced, take fewer risks. Here we go. So you've got these changes now to the system. It's fine to play double advance forward if you really wanted to. For example, we have a Carolero on this side helping out wide. Maybe we want this attacker helping out wide on the other side. So you could make them like a pressing forward defend on this side. You could make them like a deep line forward on support. You've got options. But my point is maintain the shape, maintain your stretch, and just change things in the margins, change little things in the player instructions. Don't drop to one striker. Don't completely change your shape. This is what their tactical familiarity will be the highest with. And so these are the changes that I recommend the most that you make. Now, the second part of this now is save this. Okay, save this tactic. And save it as whatever 4-1-2-1-2 narrow EOG for end of game, right? So that's a naming convention that I'll use. And now you could re-add the other tactic, right? So we can go load this tactic of let's see, it's up here, it's in the total tactics downloads in the FM23 testing databases. So here you go. This is all the kind of stuff you get if you join the Dropbox. It's every single one of these folders. So it is something that you're going to want to check out. And then it's in this folder. And then here's the original one, right? So now we have the original one. It's going to be trained by our coaches. And now we also have the end of game one that will also be trained by the coaches. So now they're going to be learning both tactics. And you can make a third variant that's an attacking tactic. This one kind of already is, so it doesn't need it. But having variants of your tactics are important. And now I'm going to talk about one more thing really quickly here on the end of game tactic. And that is, if you really want to go all out, it is make changes to your set pieces, specifically your attacking ones. So your attacking set pieces, go ahead and pull those defenders back. You don't need to have two players back on your attacking set pieces. If your DM's a good jumper, put them on the near post. And there you go. You got a couple players lurking out of the area, a couple players in the box. You're going to aim at your DM. Maybe you'll get lucky and whatever. And just do that on both sides. Go ahead. Pull these defenders back. Do it on all your free kicks as well. And then hit save, right? And it'll preserve this setup for your set pieces. So we're still going to go to the near post. We'll have a DM there. And you've got your other attacking players in and around the area. And you've got 4 defenders back. You're not going to get counterattacked. You got these 2 players lurking out of the area to break up a counter as well. And just go through and do that. And then when you hit save, these new set piece shapes will be stapled to the tactic. So when you change between the two, it's going to automatically adjust the set pieces for you. And that should get you where you need to be. So hopefully you've learned something in this video about how to hold on to a lead. It's been working really well for me in the LA Galaxy save. I'm constantly holding on to 1-0, 2-1 leads, and just no highlights from the 75th minute on when we switch to the balanced version of the tactic. So go ahead. Hopefully these suggestions make a difference. Let me know in the comments if they are helping you in your save as well. Let's come back to this video. Watch it again if you need to. There is a lot of information here about how to make this transition, but I hope to be back soon with some tactics to be released on this Total Tactics tester. And once again, you can join the Patreon to do that. And at the end, right now here at the end of the video, I'll see you next time. But here's a list of all the people who have joined the Patreon now so far. They are getting benefits like tactics reviews. Eventually, we're going to have a Patreon only draft. And then also on top of that, they're getting access to newer versions of the tactic tester as well before everyone else. So as those updates come in after the winter update, if you want to be on the cutting edge of the Total Tactics tester, consider joining the Patreon, and hopefully I'll see you there. But until then, I'll see you around.